Very good afternoon, everyone. So the first topic for today's session is prevention of fungal infections. Okay, so fungi are ubiquitous because fungi are found everywhere. So again, you have to tell me, where do you not find it physiologically? Environment, food, our chair, our lungs, our hands, our GIT, or our brain? Yes? Of course, brain. Brain में भी कीड़ा होता है, लेकिन fungus नहीं होता है. So we know that fungal infections are like superficial fungal infections, which is mainly dermatologist purview. So I will not touch upon them today. And then we have invasive fungal infections because of the yeasts, hyphal fungi, and dimorphic fungi. Yeast like Candida, Cryptococcus trichosporon, and hyphal fungi, you must be listening today a lot of mucormycosis we are seeing, and even aspergillosis. So fungi are present everywhere. They are in the soil, they are in the water, they are present in the environment, they are present on the chair you are sitting, they are present in our body, on our hands, everywhere. It is the body's own immunity which actually prevents the fungi to cause pathogenicity. Now, what are the predisposing factors for invasive fungal infections? So, in our country, diabetes is unfortunately one of the major risk factors for invasive fungal infections, especially Candida and mucormycosis. Similarly, treatment with steroids, because that leads to impaired neutrophilic function and increase in the sugar levels, which again is a risk factor. Immunocompromised patients like HIV, organ bone marrow transplant, neutropenic patients, patients after trauma and burns, which predisposes to usually Candida, malignant hematological disorders, deferoxamine therapy in hemodialysis patients, iron overload, prolonged hospitalization and ICU stay, long stay in the ICUs with central lines and other invasive devices, prior use of antibiotics, and neonates. Yes, neonates is a special population which is predisposed to the invasive fungal infections. So what are the preventive measures which we can take? One is antibiotic, antifungal stewardship, which we'll discuss, infection control, antifungal prophylaxis, judicious use of steroids and other immunosuppression, strict glycemic control, and earliest possible diagnosis. So this is a 34 years old female diabetic asymptomatic patient. She goes to her physician for a routine checkup, and a urine culture is found to have a significant colony count of E. coli. Blood culture is also sent, which is found negative. So what should we do in this patient? Should we start her on some antibiotics? Like I have mentioned, this patient does not have any complaints. So this is a patient with asymptomatic bacteriuria, which as such should not be treated except in patients with pregnancy and urological intervention. And similar thing applies to the asymptomatic candiduria, which again should not be treated except in neonates, in neutropenic patients, or the patients who are going to undergo urological intervention. So that is what we call antibiotic stewardship. Where we do not want to use, where if they are not indicated, antibiotics should not be used. Now, which of the following is an indication to prescribe antibiotics or antifungals? Klebsiella pneumoniae in urine culture of a patient with dysuria with a significant colony count, Candida from bile culture in a patient on mechanical ventilator, or E. coli in stool culture. Yes, Akansha, you want to answer this? A, B, or C? What should be treated? No, Candida from bile culture should never be treated. E. coli again is a common not a pathogen, it's a common commensal in the gastrointestinal tract. So a patient who is having Klebsiella in the urine culture with symptoms suggestive of UTI with a significant colony count mandates treatment for UTI. Okay. So this is what is called antibiotic and antifungal stewardship. Candida colonization of the bronchial tree in patients who receive mechanical ventilation is extremely common. Patients who are in the ICU on ventilators, you will keep on seeing Candida getting isolated from the ET cultures or bile cultures. That does not need any treatment. Okay. Now, why do we say that there is role of antimicrobial stewardship in the antifungal resistance? Because there was a prospective study of candidemia in Israel where they found that recent exposure to antibacterial drugs affected the risk of bloodstream infection with fluconazole-resistant Candida species. Similarly, when we use antibiotics, then the gut flora is altered in such a way that Candida colonization and infection risk increases. Similarly, there are some antibiotics which have some degree of antifungal activity also, like trimethoprim, that is cotrimoxazole and polymyxins. So whenever we use these antibiotics, ultimately fungus also gets affected in such a way that it leads to increased pathogenicity and also. Of course, infection control, there is no need to emphasize its role. We all know that we have seen outbreaks of fungal infections with Candida auris, and actually with invasive hyphofungal infections also. We all heard about United States, there was an outbreak because of the contaminated steroid vials. So contaminated vials, syringes, bandages, IV tubings, disinfectant solutions, these can be the source of fungal infections in the hospital. Early removal of central lines and catheters with the use of different bundles in ICU is extremely important. Similarly, whenever there are construction activities happening in the hospitals, it should always be away from the high-risk units, because that leads to decaying of lot of hyphal fungi like Aspergillus and Fusarium, which are present in the soil. We should avoid raw foods in severely immunosuppressed patients, which we already do, and contact isolation precautions, strict isolation in patients who have got infections like Candida auris, because that is a fungus which is a highly resistant fungus, and it is associated with almost 90 to more than 90% mortality once it affects any patient. In our oncology and BMT units, we should have strict infection control policies, air quality control with HEPA filters and laminar airflow, positive pressure ventilation, and regular air and water sampling for the monitoring. Now let's see this case. This is a case of an 18 years old male with ALL, and he developed neutropenia because of chemotherapy. After that, he developed severe mucositis and he was given high dose immunosuppression. 5 days later, he developed severe pain while swallowing, and there was thyroid enlargement and significant tenderness. Clinical impression was thyroiditis. But when the USG was done, then we found that there were multiple hypoechoic lesions suggestive of abscesses. And the aspirate from this thyroid abscess revealed that there was fungal hyphae present. So these are aseptate plus septate fungal hyphae, which shows a mixed prevalence of Aspergillus as well as mucor. There is a probability. So we did a CT scan. There was a dense consolidation in the lung, and there was splenic abscess also. So this patient underwent on the same evening thyroidectomy, wedge resection of lung as well as splenectomy. And this is the KOH and calcoflow stain. So the reason for sharing this case was that if we want to actually prevent the fungal infections from getting into a very severe form, they need to be diagnosed on a war front. All the invasive fungal infections are like emergencies, and it would not be wrong to say that fungal infections are actually, they are surgical emergencies. We need to debride and we need to surgically excise. Of Dr. Hemal and Dr. Ridham will focus on that. And then actually the role of antifungal starts. And the last point is prophylaxis in the hematological malignancy patients. So we use different antifungal agents for prophylaxis. For example, fluconazole, posaconazole, voriconazole, as well as echinocandins. However, what we need to remember is that voriconazole does not cover mucor. So posaconazole is always a preferred agent when we want to cover both mucor and Aspergillus as a prophylaxis. And last slide is that we all are seeing right now how high sugars in diabetic patients and over use of steroids is predisposing. It's one of the reasons why we are seeing so much mucormycosis post-COVID. So concludingly, prevention of fungal infections is based on identifying the high-risk groups, practicing good antibiotic and antifungal stewardship, and strict infection control. Thank you.